Once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 172 of the On Air Advocate. Where at the On Air Advocate, we look to provide education, support, and empowerment for all of those with different abilities, mental and medical illnesses, and their caregivers. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tammy Flynn, and I am the host and producer in the On Air Advocate. And I am super excited if you're joining us here this Sunday evening, or if you are catching this on the replay. Now, as always, if you think any of the content that we are talking about tonight could be relevant for anyone in your circle or your network, please hit the share button and share the love with others. Well, we've been flipping around a little bit with our topics this month, but I'm so excited that we are back on our focus for March, celebrating Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, and excited to have two phenomenal ladies here this evening. From Reflections of an Adult with Cerebral Palsy, we have Marie and Cindy here tonight with us. Hello, ladies.
Hi, ladies.
How are you guys?
Good.
I'm excited.
Fantastic.
I'm excited to have you guys here and learn more about the journey, how this platform came to be, how you two connected, all of those different things. So, Marie, do you want to start us off first? Let us know a little bit about
you. Yeah, I'm Marie. My online name, I go by Marie Wow CP. If people don't know me, Wow CP means workout with cerebral palsy. For everything we do, from getting up in the morning to going to bed, that they use a workout for us. You know, for the average person, it takes 2 seconds to put on socks and shoes. For someone with CP, it could take up to an hour, and very frustration of putting socks and shoes on for us by ourselves. So everything we do is kind of a workout for us. And I started this 5 years ago because I was very down in myself and I did not know what life was gonna bring. And it was so it used to be so, like, I didn't want to have anything to do with the CP community. And I went on a friend of mine told me to go on the groups and stuff. And as I figured out my way through groups and stuff, I realized they weren't what I were really what I wanted. So I decided to make myself a group, and it started out workout with cerebral palsy, and I just started talking about my visits to the gym and things like that. And then all of a sudden it took on this new meaning, and we started talking about life in general as an adult with cerebral palsy.
So you kind of transitioned, kicked off with the whole activity part of things, right? Like every day, how complex things were to get ready, exhausting your muscles, doing those types of things, made it more focused around that workout, whole format. But then people started to have more conversations, right? And you realized that it was something bigger than just a workout platform.
Yep.
And so with that, because you're in Connecticut, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Marie, what's interesting to me, and I just learned this, but I need to learn more about it, is Cindy, you're in Australia.
In Western Australia.
Yes, and so
that's right. I'm literally on the other side of the planet. We're 12 hours apart. So at the moment, it is my Monday morning.
So you're a Monday morning. You're here Monday. So it's really not Sunday night for you. And
no, it's Monday morning. I'm about to go to work.
How did the two of you then connect to kind of start this partnership? So Cindy, how did that happen?
So my background is I'm an exercise physiologist, although I'm not registered right now, but I've done about 2 or 3 degrees at universities on physical education, and I had 2 different streams. I worked with people with disabilities and I worked with people who were elite athletes. So I ran the weight training centres for the women and helped on really elite athlete staff for training people at university. But then when I left university to go studying, I got this awesome job working with people with cerebral palsy and complex needs, delivering conductive education. And I mean, if you listened to what Marie said, what first happened with Marie, I met her doing exercises and I'd give her advice, you know, change your hand position, slow down a bit, different things like that. And then we started talking and then we got together. But if you listen to what Marie said, and this is indicative of the adult with cerebral palsy, most of the education given to people around cerebral palsy is given when the child is 0 through to about 4. And after that, you're expected to know it. So when I started working with these adults, we were getting them out of institutions and building houses for them. And then I would train the staff. How do we make that physiotherapy thing happen in the house and with people who aren't trained to touch, you know? That was my job. So, you know, what I had to do first was teach the person who had the disability about their own disability, because no one had actually taught them about the physiology of it. And so that's been my mission now for nearly 20, 30 years, is because so much education comes in when the kid is little and tiny and it's all around the parents. But by the time the child's really old enough to understand the implications of training with that body, which is in their teens, there's no education at all, and they're surrounded by people who don't understand it.
Right. And you know what I have learned over the years I have a large CP community that follows the On Air Advocate, which I absolutely love, but everyone is different.
Everyone is different. Yes, it's so amazing.
CP, the condition is so different. You know, a lot of times if you have a syndrome, a disorder of some kind, it's very uniform. You see the exact same things. With this, because isn't there 4 different types of CP right there? Because I know, Marie, you have what type do you have?
Marie would have been diagnosed with diplegia as a child, but if you listen to Marie, she has different muscles all the way through her body that are still affected, whereas diplegia means from the hips down.
That's what I thought.
But actually, that was just because she could move her arms a bit better than her legs when she was a baby. But actually, she has, spastic quadriplegia, and the majority of people with cerebral palsy do. And it's because cerebral palsy is a neuromuscular condition. That means it's where the nerves interact with the muscles. So it's like a reflex condition. If the muscle gets too tight, then the antagonists and the synergists, all the other muscle groups around it, resist the movement. So, yeah, now I've got off track, but bring me back on track.
Yeah, so with the different types of
with the different types, every muscle group is made up of thousands and thousands of millions of tiny muscle cells. Some of the nerves are damaged, some of them are not. So this is why you get this huge difference in every single person, you know.
Ability, yeah.
Just because your biceps is affected doesn't mean the same parts of your biceps are affected. No, every single individual is going to have different muscle fibers in different places that are affected. Mm-hmm. So the reaction to that becomes so vastly different because it makes a difference in how you can use your joint. But so just because your biceps are affected, you say, I've got spastic quadriplegia. That doesn't mean every single muscle fiber's got spasticity. It means that every muscle group has a few of those fibers that have spasticity. Yeah, and they're all different. So Marie's is so different from another person who has exactly the same diagnosis. It's going to be so different. The other thing that's different is, what are these guys habitually doing during their day? By the time we're looking at adults, actually they've been trained and conditioned to be totally still when they have a condition that if you're really still, your skeleton changes. So what you don't want is to be still. So when we look at adults, you know, a lot of the changes in their body are created by their habitual patterns, where they rest, how they stand. Yeah.
Okay.
So very different. Everybody's going to be different. You're going to have a different chair. You're going to stand in a different way. You're going to have different shoes.
Right.
You're going to be brought up with different training. Yeah. So where I come from is,
so, and maybe Marie, you've tried different things too. Just this last year. So my son, when he was born with multiple complex medical issues, multiple. He had 28 different conditions. He also had a brain injury at birth. But over the years, he's always had this low tone and this spasticity in his legs, but they always kind of referred that to all these other things, with the nerve breakage in his brain, this, that, and other thing. Well, now he's going to be 23, and just about 2 months ago, finally, the 3 head doctors at one of our head medical facilities in our state said, you know, no, I really think this whole time that he's had spastic dysplasia CP in his legs, because we do treatments.
And his upper body isn't being trained.
It's just his legs. And so I said to them, I said, really? I mean, because all these treatments we've used over time, nothing helps to loosen his legs. You know, like we do all these things, but he can walk and all of that. So, you know, it took quite a few doctors, because there was different parts of his leg that one appeared like, no, that's not spastic. Oh, yes, this is spastic. So, you know, I've just found, I mean, and obviously my son has played, you know, sports, he can walk, all of those things. And so
therein lies the difficulty.
Yeah, it's so different from, you know, you go from this extreme to this extreme. And so I think that so many people outside of the CP world are not aware of all of those differences.
And also, Tammy, you know, our technology is just so amazing, and it's changed every single year. But when I did my first degree, we didn't think that nerves could regrow. And then Botox comes out, and we realise that, of course, the nerve endings can regrow, because that's what we're doing when we train elite athletes. And then our training changed, you know. Now we've got these electron microscopes that can go right in and actually look at that nerve synapse and see what's happening. The research that's coming out now on the differences in cell thickness and stuff like that, it's going to change the way, again, how people with cerebral palsy are working. And that's why this is one of my missions. You know, when I found out about what my mission is training people to understand that upper motor neuron spasticity. So if the injury was in the central nervous system, it creates this speed-dependent and force-dependent resistance to movement. And don't you think, Tammy, that if you knew that your disability would be minimised if you moved slowly, or if you put your weight close to your core, don't you think that everyone would train like that?
Right.
Yeah, that's my mission. Yeah. So it's not about changing the person you're working out with or changing your therapy, but what it is about is learning a routine that totally relaxes those postural muscles before you take any action. And that's one of the things that we're going to be putting on our Facebook site, our website, you know, working out with Cindy, or do some really basic things that people can be doing in their electric chairs or in their bed, or, you know, at home or by themselves when they've got nothing to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And Marie, what are some things that over time you have found that have helped you?
That helped me is like when I do long distance trips, I have to do a wheelchair. My body and my CP in the last couple years have been, in probably the last 6 to 5 years, my CP has been very challenged.
Starting to, because you had the knee surgery as well, which was quite challenging. That's when I met her. Yeah.
Just because people have CP doesn't mean they're excluded from other inherited diseases or disabilities. So I was lucky enough to inherit psoriatic arthritis, and I had to go through a lot of rounds of chemo, a lot of rounds of biological shots and then it turned out that it ate away my right knee. So last year, not this past October, but
2 years nearly.
before, I went and had a new knee put in. And because of the cerebral palsy and all the spasticity I have, it didn't go so well for me. And
It's always a risk.
when I went for my 6-week checkup, they realized that my cerebral palsy had broken the leg, broken the knee, and broken the femur. So I had 2 surgeries within 6 weeks of each other on the right leg. And now I've come back from that, and my mission was, when I came back from that last June, there's a Father's Day road race in town I tried to do every year. And I did 1 mile in an hour and 10 minutes probably. I did 1 mile, run, walk, run, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, fantastic.
That is fantastic, and that's tremendous after you just had, after you've had 2 surgeries.
And
Went to the gym, did the rehab absolutely perfectly, worked really hard at it, never gave up ever.
That is awesome. That's awesome. Do you have some of that? Did you take pictures and everything from the race?
Yes.
Okay, well, those you have to post.
My Facebook page.
We need to drop one of those below so everybody.
Oh yeah.
Later, we need to do that. So tell me a little bit about, now you guys have come together. You guys kind of met on the Facebook platform. What is the hope for Reflections of an Adult with Cerebral Palsy? What is the hope for your platform in the future now?
So we want it to be an educational platform, Marie. We want it to be somewhere where people can come along and ask questions that are going to educate not just themselves, but perhaps other people who have the same type of cerebral palsy as they do.
And we also don't mind if people like that work with the cerebral palsy community come on. Like, we should tell them about David. We had a wonderful man that's at the University of Michigan State, doing his PhD in adult CP.
Totally interesting, because it's on how is your cognitive function affected by movement, because when you've got this overactive nervous system, one of the things that is in common with lots of people with cerebral palsy is that actually their thinking process has to pause while they're doing their movement. So you have this cognitive pause before they get in and process the information. And so David's whole thing was on how significant is that when the child is learning, and especially when the child's developing. So that's one of the things we want to do. We've been looking for people who are offering different things that are research-based or perhaps workout-based, and we interview them. So David Hennings, he's a PhD student, and he's trying to get 100 people with cerebral palsy to do this online cognitive assessment. And we'll link that up on the top of our Facebook again, because he still hasn't quite got his 100, but he can't get his PhD until he gets 100 people. So if we can get 100 people with cerebral palsy to do that cognitive test, and it's really cool. He's designed it for people with cerebral palsy. He's got a friend, so he's got this lived experience of people with cerebral palsy, and his friend is a lecturer who lectured him. So he's got this really investment in it. It's great.
Well, you can drop that below in the comments on the Facebook. when we're done
Yep.
with the interview, please do, so that others within our community, can see that. That would be
That's
great.
right.
So,
'Cause that's a challenge to our research sector, getting enough people to actually participate, because you have to have it. And everyone's so vastly different. Yeah,
right.
it's a challenge.
I completely
Okay, go on.
understand. And so with being in Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, what I always like to ask is that sometimes we have people who view they hear this live or on the podcast, and they always think to themselves, how could I help build more awareness? How could I get involved? What are ways that I can do those things? And so do you guys have a few different things? For me, a lot of times, this you can't see in this light, but this is really like a green. I try to always wear green, and it's so cold here. It's snowing tonight. Yes, we all have different shades of it, but just supporting in that way. Sometimes people share on Facebook. Are there things that you guys always do during the month of March, when it is Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, to kind of share and spread awareness?
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm more vocal with my friends that don't have cerebral palsy. Cause I see like in October everyone does breast cancer awareness month, or in May everyone does autism awareness month, and I seem to be the only one of my friends that know what cerebral palsy month is. I mean, granted, I grew up in the town I grew up with, and I technically was the only one with cerebral palsy until I met a teacher with cerebral palsy, and I had a teacher in 4th through 6th grade to teach me, and she had cerebral palsy herself.
Okay.
So I don't know about in America, but in Australia and every English colony between the years of 1948 and 1983, anybody who had a child with complex needs, that child was put into an institution. So the government would take care of the children. So a lot of the reason you didn't meet people with cerebral palsy was because of just because they weren't actually evident in the community.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. You're back.
Something happened on my screen.
Just for 1 second.
Anyway, but what Marie does every single day is post a fact about Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month and a fact about cerebral palsy. And we've done a couple of different podcasts on cerebral palsy, and we're doing one a week, making sure that at least 3 reflections, and then we can post it on our own websites. We're making sure people know it's Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month.
And it's funny because there's a lot of people with cerebral palsy that don't understand or don't know the true facts of cerebral palsy. So
that's right. That's why it's my mission. Yeah.
Cerebral palsy, isn't it 17 million people? Is that just in the United States, or is that in the world? 17
in the world.
In the world. There's 17 million people. Yeah, and like I said, even myself over the last couple of years, my knowledge of CP has grown so much. And just looking at how everyone, it's a condition. It has this like umbrella label, but there's so many different varieties to it.
So many different, it's such a challenging sphere, and that's why we need more research in it, and so that, the people with the disability can be working with people more educated. Yeah.
Right. So definitely I can tag your platform and they can go over and share one of your facts, right? That's an easy way to help.
Absolutely, that'd be great.
And I've been trying to make like Facebook groups have new stuff now where you could make sections of topics. So I have a section of fun CP facts, or I don't know what's good, but something like fun CP facts or something.
People can go to it and they can find it.
Yeah.
So a few more things before we wrap up. I don't want it to go for us to not recognize it. But obviously we are all facing, even though you're in Australia, you're in Connecticut, I'm in Wisconsin, we're all facing the COVID-19 right now. And so, you know, Marie, for you, with having some mobility challenges, I don't know about if you get therapies or in-home therapies, out-of-home therapies, anything like that. Has anything changed for you, what you would do normally on a daily basis?
Yes, my normal day has been shot for 2 weeks and probably will be shot for a while longer. I go to a gym 3 days a week, and I was starting around a physical therapy because being in the wheelchair for so long because of my knee replacement, my back is very weak, so I had to go for back therapy and I went to 2, and because of the virus it just stopped. But also, I also like to be social in my local coffee shop, and I can't do that, so I made the coffee shop come to me. I have coffee house reflections where I'll sit down with one of my friends from the CP community and just have a regular conversation with them, and we're really in the coffee shop, and I'll upload it to YouTube.
Oh, so you guys do it online or
Yeah,
together?
I do it through Zoom,
Okay.
and then I'll upload it to YouTube. It's totally unscripted. We'll talk about whatever we want to talk about. If it's all CP based, that's great. If it's all like music based, that's great. Or sports based, I don't mind talking about anything they want to talk about, because I know we're all lonely at this time because we're stuck in the house.
Right. So really, you've done a great job of taking lemons and making it into lemonade.
Yes.
Now you're doing it, you found it kind of an alternative. But I know here too, all of our gyms, all of our coffee shops, only drive-throughs are open, curbside
Yeah.
pickup, and that will probably close soon because we're a little bit on the uptick. So, but
Yeah.
yes, I hear that. So I hope that things do get back to normal faster than slower, but we all need to stay home, I feel, to do that. Cindy, in Australia, what's going on there?
So I'm in Perth, which is one of the most isolated capital cities in the world, and we've just shut our borders, Western Australia. Every single coffee shop, restaurant, pub, they're all shut. The only things that are allowed to be open now are the supermarkets and the petrol stations. So they've said so now our support workers, they're part of our essential staff, and right now the schools will still be open, because if we close the schools, they lose 30% of the health workforce. So it's a real dilemma, you know, do you close the schools, don't you? But I think the schools will close. So for people with complex needs, you know, I know a lot of them through wheelchair football and wheelchair rugby, it's a scary time. We're getting deliveries, so a lot of online deliveries. Coles and Woolworths are still doing that. And but we've had the toilet paper problem. Have you guys had the
Australia?
Oh my God, I've been going into the shops for a week. Every day for a week, there is no toilet paper anywhere. And if it is put out there, it's like this manic panic. Oh, yeah. So there's definitely a lot of people being scared out there in the community. But, you know,
What's interesting is that they closed down those other things, but they didn't close school. Because here, and Marie, maybe it was the same for you, them closing down all of our schools was the first thing they did.
Yes, actually.
Yeah, whereas here they keep thinking of the workforce, because, you know, 30% of our health workforce, and especially when we look at our disabilities and age sector, they're single mothers, you know. Right. It's really difficult for them to keep working, and they can't leave their child at home alone, not in this day and age. So the reason that Australia have continued to keep their schools open, and I know Melbourne and Sydney closed theirs today, is basically to have somewhere safe for those children to go to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I,
so that
I
they
don't know
can
how
go.
many.
But I have heard here, I just did an interview on a different platform I have with 3 other women from 3 other states, and all of their kids are still in more of that elementary school age. And so they were kind of given their books like, okay, we're closed today, but no
Uh-huh.
therapy, and their kids get
Yeah.
speech and PT and OT and all that. Well, they can't get it at
And
home.
then
So,
they're not allowed to come into their house. That's
right.
exactly right.
So it's
Yeah.
like they can't log in their computers on their own. They can't, I mean, especially if you have high needs intellectually, you can't do
Yeah.
any of those things. So then the parents are
Yeah.
sitting there trying to figure out to be a
It's
therapist.
going to be a big burden on the parents, and it already was. And honestly, I have a number of people who I visit every week that are lonely, isolated people, and I drop in every single week and have a cup of coffee with them. People that are living in bed because of pressure sores, and people that don't have enough money to hire support workers during the day. Well, now, they're so lonely. Now they're getting half the amount of support workers coming in.
Right.
And and they're scared of that loneliness. And that's another reason why Marie and I are really focusing on proactive, positive stuff on this website. Some exercises you can do in bed if you have to stay in bed for the day, and that's something that's going to happen, and
Right.
some learning how to do a form of breathing that, because it brings your lymphatic stuff forward, it increases circulation in your legs, but just by breathing with that. So we're going to teach stuff like that.
That's good. So we need to get going on all of those so that we can watch them while we're
Totally.
home.
Learning how to relax. I think we can do that.
Yeah. Where are you guys at, Marie? Do you know where you guys are at in numbers in your state?
In my state, I think we're up to like 40 maybe with the virus. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Are you talking about with the virus?
Yeah, yeah.
I think we might be up to 40. I'm not sure. I try so hard not to watch the news but once a day.
That's what I've been doing. They said 1 hour at the most a day we should be giving to this. So I always do it when they put the numbers in and stuff at 2 o'clock each day. I check and read and listen, but then after that.
In Western Australia, we've got 120 today, and we are the most isolated state in the world, and we don't have to stand close to each other, and we don't get really packed out anywhere, So
right.
I think you'll find there'll be more in your state. It's because it's exponential. One day you have 40, but the next day you have 80, and the next day you have 160.
Yeah, we went very quickly in the last probably week and a half. We've went from starting with 8 to 30 to whatever, and today we had 381 and 4 deaths.
Look what happened in Italy. That's what the healthcare sector is so scared about, and that's why people have to stay at home. It's a real message.
You're in a large state. Excuse me. You're in a large state in Wisconsin. I'm in Connecticut, where you could fit 2 or 3 of Connecticut in yours.
Okay. Yeah, so the numbers are going to grow more, but I think they're doing the right thing by trying to, if we can shut everything down, let's clean this up and get back
down. And if you do get it, you'll have the equipment there to help you out, and that's what the whole aim is.
Right. Well, Australia, I heard a lot about, because isn't it Tom Hanks and his wife are there?
Yeah, they got it. They got it. Of course, how many people would they contact every single day? And then they lock themselves up in the most expensive hotel. They're still there, I think. But yeah.
I was like this. That was one of the first celebrities that came out. So I'm sure that everyone was referencing that. So I hope they're feeling better now, because they've had it for a while. Have they been released?
No, that's right. That's what they were on. Actually, they were online the other day going, thank you very much to the staff. We feel fantastic now.
Oh, they're ready to go.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're ready to go. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I want you guys, before we close up and we wrap up completely, Marie and Cindy, can you guys kind of let us know, is there any upcoming things that's going to be on your page to look for soon? Where are you guys all on? Because I think you said you're on YouTube as well. Are you on Twitter?
We do have a Twitter account. I'm not really good at keeping up with Twitter just because there's only 160 characters there, and I'm not good with keeping my words that little. But Facebook mostly. Instagram, I have to start working more on Instagram. On YouTube, we're soon to be having our own .com. But my IT person is working on that for us. And then upcoming events, because Wednesday CP Day and Thursday will be my 50th anniversary doing this. So, and because everyone's bored inside, I decided to have CP Trivia Night, and all the trivia questions I will do will be based on CP. And the winner of the Trivia Night will give $15 donated in their name to a CP charity of their choice.
Oh, that's great. And you have information about that you can post below in the comments for people to find?
Yep.
All right, and that's this coming up Thursday, which is, because I'm so lost on the days, is that the 26th?
The 26th between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m.
Between 7 and 8 p.m.
Drop in Facebook Live and we'll play trivia.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Cindy, is there any other resources or anything like that that you would like to share?
Yeah. So this week I'm going to be doing some. First of all, we're linking to a number of mindfulness things. So one of my friends is doing a really gorgeous yoga in New Zealand, and he's giving that for free, and we're going to put that up. I'm going to be doing some breathing and getting in the starting position. So if people want to exercise at home, I'll do a Facebook Live, and then we'll put that up into Marie's YouTube as well. Oh. So that's in this next week.
All right.
Breathing and getting in the position to start.
Mindfulness and breathing, those are all things that we need right now.
Exactly. That's right.
And some fun trivia as well.
Yes.
All right. Well, ladies, I thank you so much for spending the last 45 minutes or so with us chatting this evening. Or I guess Cindy, I should say this morning, Monday morning.
Yes, thanks.
Sunday night, Marie, and sharing so much with us. We are going to also drop, your resource to your Facebook page and whatnot in the top of this, comments. But if you guys can drop any of the upcoming things in the comments below, that would be great.
Perfect.
Thanks, Tammy.
I thank you guys so much for being on tonight and sharing with us. Please keep us up to date on everything. So if there are things that come up, make sure you tag us in them. Let us know about them, okay?
Yep.
Really appreciate that. And thank you all for joining us this evening, or whether you're catching this on the replay. If you want to know more about the On Air Advocate, you can head right on over to onairadvocate.com, and all of our resources and help are right there. If you'd like to join our private community, head up to the top of this Facebook page, hit the blue button, and that will let you in. So on that, you all have a fabulous evening. If you're in Australia, have a fabulous Monday morning.
Thank you.
See you later.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.